Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to No Timeouts, a football show coming at you from the Score Studio. My name is Jonah Birenbaum. That is Tyler MacKillop. That is Zak McDonald. You know them. You love them. Our boy Dan Wilkins is unfortunately taking his sweet time getting home from Las Vegas, where he watched his beloved Raiders throw up an absolute dud against the Chargers on Monday night.
What a brutal game for him to go
tough.
to.
Poor guy.
Once me and my dad, I don't know if you remember the Ryan Fitzpatrick year against the Bills for the Jets. Week 6, they beat the Patriots in week 16. So week 17, they needed to beat the Bills. This is pre-Josh Allen Bills to go to the playoffs. Me and my dad went. It was like minus 30 degrees, and the Jets lost on a Ryan interception in the fourth quarter. And
Well, I mean, we can't. You're comparing a game with like some juice to it.
Yeah,
Chargers,
true,
Raiders,
true.
Monday night.
Apples to oranges.
No ball in the end zone
Look,
to the
people
Raiders.
usually come home from Las Vegas feeling forlorn at best and just completely ruined at worst.
Yeah.
I feel like Wilkins is probably skewing towards the latter, but we'll find out next week when he rejoins the show. We soldier on without him today. Now then, fellas, we're 2 weeks into the season. We've seen some good, we've seen some bad, we've seen some ugly. To kick things off today, I want to focus on the bad and the ugly because it is still too early in the season for a full-on meltdown if your team has gotten off to a rough start, but it's not too early to start feeling uneasy and maybe even to hit the panic button. So to get things going today, I want you guys to tell me whether you're smashing the proverbial panic button for a bunch of teams whose seasons have gotten off to disappointing starts, and we have to start, obviously, with the reigning AFC champs, the juggernauts that have been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, who have won 3 of them, the Kansas City Chiefs.
0-2.
They're off to an 0-2 start for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. Their offense currently sits 24th in the NFL in points per game, and they've held the lead for less than 10 minutes total so far this season. T, are you panicking about the Chiefs or not?
I think there's some, obviously 0-2. You see the Chargers at 2-0. There's some reasons for a Chiefs fan to panic when you have the expectations of being a Super Bowl contender, as they are every year. But when it comes to getting under the hood and looking at what this team is right now, I don't think there's a reason to panic. You look at, we talked about this before the season, or Dan mentioned this a lot about the Chiefs potentially looking to use the deep ball a little bit more often, take the top off opposing defenses, and they're making a conceded effort to do that. Mahomes had one of the lowest deep ball pass attempt rates in the entire league last year. That's gone up by about 5%, was like 8%, now it's around 13%. So they're trying to make those plays. They've missed on them quite a bit to start the year. Mahomes has specifically. But I think you look at personnel, and obviously this team can't do what they want to do without Xavier Worthy, without Rashee Rice. Like when Rashee Rice is back, if you're playing fantasy football right now, that is a guy I'm absolutely dying to go target, because when you look at what this offense wants to do, they're kind of asking Hollywood Brown to play that role, and that's not really his game. And Travis Kelce is not the same Travis Kelce we've seen from years past.
There's way too much focus on Tyquan Thornton right now.
Yeah, and it should help when Xavier Worthy is back too. And then you look at the addition of Josh Simmons. He's been really good. Like, there was a serious concern about left tackle, and they've answered those questions, which I feel good about. The defense, I was concerned about the personnel, but Spagnuolo just seems to constantly have ways to scheme things up and get things done, because they made the Eagles' offense look pretty pedestrian.
Their defense has been fine. That hasn't been the problem.
Not a problem at all. I think the big thing will be, I would really like to see them obviously healthy, but let's get a talented running back in this room.
Yeah.
Because Mahomes with the talent back, I think he's going to be just fine. I think there's a chance he puts together some MVP type numbers once they're healthy. But I would love to see, let's go trade for a James Conner. Trey Benson's a guy waiting in the wings for Arizona. Let's go trade for Breece Hall. Like, the Jets are a team offensively and just in general that aren't going to threaten for the postseason, in my opinion. Those are 2 guys I would love to see them get, because the run game is awful. Like, Mahomes is using his legs far too much this early in the season.
It's a weird Andy Reid thing. Andy Reid just he refuses to put any focus on the running back whatsoever. Like,
they just don't have the talent.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's a
Isaiah
personnel
Pacheco's
thing.
not the same guy he was before the injury. You're not going to rely on Kareem Hunt to be a number 1 option at his age. I think when it comes to big picture, this team can get back on track. Now, there are a lot of games behind in the AFC West as we currently speak, because the Chargers and Broncos play this coming week too. The Chargers could be 3-0 in the division.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
There also we're like one Travis Kelce drop. Like, if that drop gets reversed and the Chiefs don't get that, or the Eagles don't get that interception, we could be having a way different discussion about the Chiefs. They could have easily beaten the Eagles in that game. So I think that's why you don't press the panic button. But again, it's not the same Chiefs that we're used to. It's not the team that Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator. I think when you keep losing those offensive coaches year after year after year, it can become a big problem for your team. I don't love having Matt Nagy be the coach, but you can't judge the Chiefs until we see them with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy back. Then we'll know what they're like, and I think they'll be a way different team.
Yeah.
I mean, all those points are valid. They're definitely injured, and the schedule has not been kind to them to start off the season. What's concerning to me is that throughout the Patrick Mahomes era, regardless of opponent, the Chiefs have always found a way to win.
Yeah.
And they just haven't had that juice so far this year. And it's not that they're turning the ball over. They only have one turnover through 2 games. They're just not making plays. They're bottom 10 in the NFL in third down conversion rate. They're bottom 10 in red zone percentage. This is very uncharacteristic of the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid Chiefs. And even with, some key guys missing, I'm pulling my collar a little bit. I'm a little bit worried that these guys aren't.
Collar?
Dude, I don't know that these guys are the same juggernaut that we've seen for so long, but we'll see once they get healthy. Let's move on.
The Chargers week 1 game is a game they usually win. Like play kind of crappy all game and then pull it out, and they didn't.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Okay, what about the Chicago Bears? Most everybody was anticipating a step forward in year 2 of the Caleb Williams era, but they're actually off to a worse start than last season, and they've surrendered an NFL worst 79 points through 2 games. Zachy, are you panicking about the Bears or what?
I'm pushing the panic button. I'm pulling the panic lever. I'm calling in the panic police. Whatever the most panic you could possibly have it for the Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift, get out of my life. I don't want to see DeAndre Swift anymore. He's not worthy of being an every down back. He's turning the ball over. He's just making boneheaded plays. It's terrible to watch their running game like that. This team somehow has DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and Colson Loveland and
well, do they have Colson Loveland though? They're not really interested in using him.
I think he had like 2 catches last week or something like that. It's like they're not using him. That was sort of my point. Is like, why aren't they better? Like, how are you going to have all of these guys? And we talked in the offseason about their offensive line. They got 2 guys that are supposed to be stalwart tackles. They have the play caller that's involved there, and that's where you start to get the questions about, Caleb Williams. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's like sitting here trashing Caleb Williams because all he's been is trashed his entire career. But it's hard not to watch the games and see him making those erratic throws and making turnovers and just looking completely frazzled out there and feel bad about them.
The third down running to the sideline interception was something that's just like, what have we done all offseason? We told you to get the ball out on time. You don't need to make a play on every single down, and that kind of encapsulates what he's been in his career in the NFL.
Hold on. Are you really blaming the quarterback in a game where they give up 50-plus points?
Not completely, no. You definitely can't. But, I mean...
But what it does illustrate, though, is that when they're down, Caleb Williams goes into this mode where he plays these kind of makes that interception along the sidelines. He's done that. You go back to college, it's the same thing. You've seen him, like, there's so many games where even in college you're watching him and you're just like, what are you doing? And it's like when he tries to go into that Superman mode, like what Tyler's saying, it goes really bad.
Yeah.
The defense that was shocking. Honestly, I don't really even have words for how shocking that was, because they're now going to be without Jalen Johnson for potentially the rest of the season, it looks like. That's a terrible sign for this defense. Obviously, still some issues with not really generating much of a pass rush. Look, I'm the guy that was high on the Bears going into the season, and that is looking like it's over.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about their defense too. All of a sudden, J.J. McCarthy, who had a really poor game this past week, he had one good quarter the entire season, and it was against the Chicago Bears defense, and that looks less and less impressive as the day goes on.
I was going to say it totally reframed that Game 1 superhero comeback in the fourth quarter from the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy, but it's a shame that Wilk isn't here because he has been so adamant that Caleb Williams was the right quarterback to draft over Jaden Daniels, and I wonder... is if we're starting to see some softening in that position. Again, only 2 games into his sophomore season, but it hasn't been terribly impressive, and the Bears overall have not taken the step forward so far that a lot of people were anticipating. Let's move on. Let's talk about a team that's in a very different spot than the previous 2 clubs, the Cincinnati Bengals. They are inexplicably 2-0. They're off to the best start of the Zach Taylor era. However... they lost Joe Burrow in week 2, and they're going to be without him for at least the next 3 months because he needs surgery on his turfed toe. Tyler, are you panicking about the Bengals or what?
Worst name for an injury. I had to look up. I had to genuinely, on Sunday, I looked up to really find out what it actually is, because I don't think I've ever known what turf toe actually is.
It's like a dislocation in basically where your toe to your knuckle is.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the big question here, I think it's time to panic from the big picture perspective here that I'll get to in a second. Obviously, with Burrow, 3 months is kind of a generous timeline because it is the third grade or grade 3 sprain. So it could be longer, and that puts you in the middle of December. Now, Jake Browning, you get a good head start here. We're 2-0 somehow. Somehow we're 2-0. But you look under the hood and you're like, okay, Joe Burrow has been the most pressured quarterback in the entire NFL through 2 weeks. 45% of his dropbacks. This offensive line is awful. This team has 94 rushing yards through 2 weeks. They cannot run the ball at all. And the reason I say big picture for this team is because you're going to go into another season without Joe Burrow, which we've seen before. You're going to say the season is lost. We don't have Joe Burrow. That's the reason why. But in reality, whether Joe Burrow was playing or not, this was not going to be a contending team or a contending roster. So, ownership and the general manager, the front office gets to blame it on Burrow's injury, but in reality, this team just wasn't going to be good enough. And I think that's the biggest issue if you're a Bengals fan. You want to be able to take a season that doesn't go your way and say, okay, here are the changes we make, as opposed to blame it on losing your franchise quarterback, because you're going into 2026 and Trey Hendrickson doesn't have a contract again. Like, this roster might not be better next year than it is this year. It's crazy to look back and say that. I think we'll say this a lot, but the Bengals probably had the best roster they may ever have with Joe Burrow in the season that they made the Super Bowl, with him being in his second season. Because
a lot of guys on rookie contracts, like
exactly,
explosive receivers on rookie contracts, was a huge deal.
Exactly, and yeah, I think big picture, long term, this really sucks for Bengals fans.
Do you have this Joe Burrow Andrew Luck stat ready, Jonah?
Hit me.
It's in Andrew Luck's first 71 games, he took 157 sacks. Joe Burrow in his first 71 games, 201 sacks.
That's unimaginable.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about, we saw what happened with Andrew Luck, where he was forced to retire early, and we're talking about possibly another generational fumble of a generational quarterback, where you're just not putting this guy in the position to win, and he already missed a season earlier in his career. He's missing another season now. This is a terrible situation if you love football, because Joe Burrow should be having games on prime time, and he should be coming back in the fourth quarter. He should be electrifying people. He has every single thing you need, and the Bengals are showing organizational malpractice by not supporting him in the right way.
I hate saying things that I don't have the actual answer to, but I think Joe Burrow has played less healthy seasons than he has injured seasons, because he had the torn ACL, he had the wrist injury, and now he has this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
he spent a lot of his career banged up or on the sidelines, and it's a real shame, because I think, to Zach's point, him and the weapons that they have in the Cincinnati offense, they had the potential to be one of the great offenses, or passing offenses, at least in recent football history, and it's not materializing. And
they were one of the great passing offenses last year.
Yeah, they were.
The team just sucked.
They sure did. And this year is not heading in a much brighter direction. Okay, what about the Houston Texans? They almost pulled off a victory over the Bucs on Monday night, but then they got Baker Mayfielded, and they are really struggling right now, specifically to put up points. They've only got 28 through 2 games. That's the lowest mark in the NFL. Zach, are you panicking about the Texans?
I'm not quite panicking about the Texans. I think just relative to their expectations coming into the season, I don't feel like anybody had the Texans as a Super Bowl team, but it's certainly not looking good. The turnover that they've had an offensive coordinator over the last 3 years, they just haven't been able to find that out. It seems like in CJ Stroud's first year, we had Bobby Slowick written in as sort of a genius future head coach, offensive coordinator, and hasn't worked that way. He's actually regressed. He regressed last year, and it looks like he's regressed again. He's got 57% adjusted completion percentage this year. At some point, you want to see this Nico Collins, CJ Stroud combination explode, and it hasn't in the first 2 weeks. Nico Collins, I think, had 57 yards receiving last night, and he had that unbelievable catch in the corner of the end zone where he just gets his 2 feet in. He is an elite talent. I think he's probably a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He's as good as anybody you're going to get. But they're not having huge games. CJ Stroud's not having huge games. They put the ball into the hands of their defense at the end of their game. They have DeMeco Ryans, a defensive head coach, and they let the Bucs just drive them into oblivion and win the game. They did it exactly how they want, exactly the amount of time left on the clock. They weren't calling timeouts. They just owned them.
Well, speaking, I was going to say to you guys before we start the show, Todd Bowles almost ruined this game single-handedly again. They had 2 timeouts. Let the clock drop. Did you realize that they
was wild.
Got to first and goal And they let the clock drain out so far that they wouldn't, even if they did not score there, they wouldn't have been able to run 4 plays. And I believe that they got first and goal with over 30 seconds left, I think. I love Todd Bowles. I've always said that on the show. I think he's a great coach and manager of a team, but can he have, someone needs to just run clock, pay attention to the clock.
Maybe I think they actually did hire a guy in the offseason to run the clock.
But maybe it just evinces his ultimate faith in Baker Mayfield to get it done no matter how much time is left on the clock. Because this is what Baker Mayfield has done for the last 2 years. He is the best high leverage quarterback in the NFL. It's crazy that I'm saying that, but in high leverage spots, Baker Mayfield is going to execute. He did it again. And right now it looks like the Bucs are prohibitive favorites to take home the NFC South once again because they don't lose.
Blaming,
they don't lose.
He's a throw at the numbers guy. Every year there are underlying numbers of him that are like, guys, this looks bad. But what I can't stand is people that blamed Bobby Slowick for the downfall of this offense. Year one, we were talking, he was interviewed to be a head coach. He was seen as one of the best offensive minds in the league. And to move on from him, and we're on to Nick Caley, and this offense looks the exact same, if not worse. I think that comes down to the fact that they probably should keep some continuity with their young quarterback. I think that was a major mistake because there's nothing changing.
Now, speaking of young quarterbacks who are not having much success, to close out this segment, I want to get your thoughts, D, on the Carolina Panthers. Not because they're 0-2 per se, but because they're 0-2 to start year 3 of Bryce Young's career, and his play remains terrible. He's got the lowest completion percentage of his career, and 3 of the 4 passing touchdowns he's thrown so far have come in garbage time. Are you panicking about the Carolina Panthers?
Let me tell you, sorry, 1 second, Tyler. If Tyler pulls out the phone on your team, you're in for some bad news.
You're cooked. You're absolutely cooked.
This is absolute. I think the staff in Carolina is so lucky that nobody cares about the Carolina Panthers and they just only care about the Chicago Bears because these two teams are identical to each other, except the part where Carolina made a massive trade to jump up and select Bryce Young with the first overall pick, who put on a performance for the ages on Sunday of everyone knows I'm not good enough, but look at these numbers, give me a few more weeks or give me another season. This team has drafted so horribly. Some of these names you guys are going to forget. We know they trade up into the first round for Xavier Legette, who had a fantastic 8 targets, 1 reception for -2 yards on Sunday. Jonathan
impressive.
Brooks off a torn ACL. You are not a good enough franchise to draft a running back in the second round, let alone one that tore his ACL the season prior. Do we remember Jonathan Mingo? Guys?
Vaguely.
Jonathan Mingo was the 39th pick
in
the NFL draft the same year they selected Bryce Young. I mean, this team is Terrace Marshall. Second round pick at you're not good enough in the trenches to draft guys like this. Ike Ekwonu's kind of been a bit of a bust for this team at the tackle spot. He gave up 9 pressures this week against Arizona. There's just so many swings and misses from this team. Nick Scorton, who they took in the second round this year, has barely seen the field. He's played 20 or so snaps. I just go through and look at the draft history from this team, and it's honestly laughable. There's just not Tommy Tremble is a 3rd round pick.
So not only are you panicking, but it's like a broad organizational dysfunction panic. It extends beyond their 0-2 record.
And for Bryce, I think when you're such an undersized quarterback, there are so many other facets of your game that have to be near perfect. Baker's a guy that just has that dog in him, apparently. Yeah. But you need to be able to process quickly, be very how would I put this? When it comes to the blitz or pressure, you need to be a little bit more steady and specifically probably more evasive in the pocket, which Bryce just doesn't really have those type of characteristics.
Bryce Young's Madden awareness rating needs to be 42 or something like that.
When it comes to taking blitzes or taking sacks and it came to in the first 2 drives of the game when they were down 10-0 solely because of him in that one.
Because the problem is it's not that he can't throw, because if you watch a Bryce Young game, you will see 3 or 4 throws that you're like, holy,
it's
where
rare,
did that come from? It is rare, but I think it's the processing, it's the awareness, it's the ability to see the field. That's what his struggles are.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's changing, and it's going to be really hard for Carolina to move on because they know what they gave up to be able to select him. And it's
year 3, right?
It is.
Yeah, year 3 for Bryce. I don't know what they're in a spot where they could be one of the worst teams in the league this year, so that they're going to be at a point.
Draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Draft a quarterback. Oh my goodness, it's crazy to say that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, so, gentlemen, good stuff. That was the bad and the ugly. Let's pivot. Let's focus on the good. Again, we're not even 15% of the way into the season, so it is definitely premature to be doing this, but who cares? I want to know which individuals have impressed you guys the most so far. Give me your way too early power rankings for the MVP award. T, if the season ended today, who would be your MVP?
Right now, it's definitely Josh Allen. I mean, I don't think there's too much debate amongst that in terms of the first 2 weeks of the season, the 240 yards of our 250 yards passing in the fourth quarter against Baltimore. They follow that up in like a potentially, sticky spot going to a New York team that looked good in week one. No problems there. Blow them out. I think Josh is the unequivocal number one guy at the moment.
You're with him?
Easy number one for Josh Allen. Simply, also they beat the Ravens. So if Josh Allen beats the Ravens, then he gets number one. Maybe if Lamar Jackson wins that game, it's Lamar Jackson number one. That's the easiest way to settle it.
So there have only been 2 repeat MVPs in the last 20 years, Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning. It would be pretty impressive for Josh Allen to do that. I mean, that's obviously elite Hall of Fame company or future Hall of Fame company in the case of Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, incredible start so far, even though, quieter game, more of a game managing effort in week 2 against the Jets, but got the win. And obviously, beating the Ravens counts for a lot when you're working with a 2-game sample. Who do you have at number 2 in your power rankings?
2 would be Lamar. I mean, it's just him and Josh are just in the spot where their teams lean on them so much to create in every aspect of the game, especially when you're talking about 2 of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league. So him and Lamar are kind of right now in a world of their own, I would say. We're only 2 weeks in.
Zachy?
Yeah, you just can't say anybody other than Lamar Jackson. I mean, these are the 2 best quarterbacks playing in the NFL right now, probably.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken,
I always love Mahomes, but it's like it's just
his team is 0-2.
Yeah.
And his numbers certainly don't jump off the page. But Lamar's, on the other hand, he leads the NFL in QB rating. In addition to what he does or what he's doing with his legs, what an absolute beast. Who do you have at number 3?
Guys, this is the most obvious one on the board in terms of who deserves the 3 spot. It's Daniel Jones.
Whoa!
Oh no,
DJ.
He leads the league. He leads the league in touchdowns with 3. 3 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
He's second in the NFL in passing yards. Guys, what did I say before the season? Give this guy some protection and a leading receiver
Some
that isn't
weapons.
Saquon Barkley, and let the man cook. 10 straight possessions with points. This team has scored on every single drive of the season, Zach. Every single one.
It's crazy. He's literally right behind Josh Allen in terms of adjusted total QB rating at ESPN, and his completion rate is like above 70%. And it's not just little dunks off to Saquon Barkley. He's above league average in terms of air yards per completion.
Yep.
I did not see this coming from Daniel Jones. I don't know if he's necessarily 3rd on my list, but man, is he ever proving me wrong.
I wish Wilkie was here, obviously, because he's the big Daniel Jones denier. I have some things to say about the Colts later on that we'll get to. It's kind of hard to argue against
the
Daniel
numbers
Jones
don't
because
lie.
they've pretty much been perfect. But I'll eat a cowboy hat live on this podcast if Daniel Jones wins MVP this year.
Listen, that's why they're power rankings. I don't think Daniel Jones is winning MVP.
You never know.
But he did carve up, a Denver Broncos defense that everyone
very
thought was
good
like the
defense.
best.
It's just like he literally.
Very good defense.
It's like every inch of my body right now. It's like say Daniel Jones sucks, but it's like, what do you want me to say?
You're having a trauma response to
Daniel
this power
Jones
ranking.
attacked Patrick Surtain on Sunday. The best
Defensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year. Pat Surtain getting exposed by Daniel Jones. Who do you have at 3, Zach?
I have Justin Herbert.
Oh,
I got
good
Justin
choice.
Herbert
Good
at
choice.
number 3. I think obviously second half of last night's game was a little slowed down a little bit, but when you see that 60-yard bomb that he throws to Quentin Johnson over the middle of the field, you just are like, this is quarterback nirvana. This is what we want. This is a golden god leaning over the California sun. This is why Madison Beer is falling in love. It's just Justin Herbert. And also, I'm always upset at Justin Herbert for not having those clutch moments. Week 1, he goes against the Chiefs and he shuts them down in the fourth quarter. I mean, Justin Herbert, I love this guy.
Brings a tear to my eye, man.
I mean, we've talked for so many years about how his arm talent, his ability as a quarterback is up there, and it tends to get obscured by the fact that maybe there aren't a ton of weapons around him, or the team just isn't in a good spot. But man, is it ever coming together, and is he ever showing himself to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL?
The thing is that they're lead the league in pass rate over expected. They can't run the ball, which I mentioned was a big concern going into the year, and they need Herbert a lot, and he's been getting it done when it's needed. He wasn't great in the second half.
Keenan Allen, incredible pickup.
They thought he was washed. They thought Keenan Allen was washed. He ages like fine wine. Oh my God.
He's
opened up. Listen, he's opened up. I can't believe I'm muttering these words. Keenan Allen's addition has opened up Quentin Johnston to now be the best receiver from the 2023 draft class.
Maybe just absence makes the heart grow fonder. He goes to Chicago and then he remembers how good he had.
T-Mac is clearly charged up right now. He's fully charged.
You want to talk about? I said there's no argument. Daniel Jones is number 3 guy. There's no argument against Quentin Johnston being the best receiver in the 2023 class. He leads the league in touchdowns. Who are the other 2023 touchdowns with Daniel Jones?
It's not Quentin Johnston.
No, it's not. JSN went just before.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Who do you have it for?
Who do I have it for? I have Dak. Again,
Dak Prescott.
5 big-time throws this week against the Giants. 5. We saw the Commanders' offense look incredibly human against the Giants' pass rush. Dak steadies his defense. Oh my God. Do we not know that the only thing in Russell Wilson's bag left is just the deep ball?
Heave it.
Why are we getting beat over the top, Trayvon Diggs, on every single play?
The deep ball is the only thing in Russell Wilson's bag to the degree that they were running a quarterback platoon. Like they were like, we'll keep Russ in to throw the deep balls, and we need to bring Jackson Dart in to take care of the short stuff.
So I've loved what I've seen from Dak the first 2 weeks. This week kind of affirmed, the thoughts and what the eyes saw in week 1 that didn't show up in the box score. I'm excited about Dak because, like I said, this team is going to have to keep scoring because that defense is laughable.
I don't know about him at 4, but okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I went by the numbers, Russell Wilson, I guess should be
there. You go,
400-something yards.
Don't call it a comeback, Zach. Who do you have it for?
All right, T-Mac's going to love this one. Buckle up, baby. I got Jalen Hurts on number 4 of my MVP
Why
rankings.
Not?
A staggering 0 passing touchdowns. A staggering 0 rushing touchdowns. But last week, Chris Jones, at the end of the game, while the Eagles were in victory formation, the Eagles live in victory formation, baby. He says, you don't even have 100 yards. You don't even have 100 yards in this game. Jalen Hurts looks him straight in the eyes as he's kneeling down to beat the Kansas City Chiefs for the second time in a row and says, we won the game, shut your ass up. And that's what Jalen Hurts is doing to everybody around the league. They win games. There's something about him. This is a spot where maybe you could pick Jordan Love. Jordan Love obviously has better stats than Jalen Hurts has, and the Packers maybe have been a better team than the Eagles have been, but the Eagles are so dominant. They're so omnipresent. They have everybody scared. And their leader is Jalen Hurts, and he is the main guy. He's the one that gets the scramble on third down for a first down. He is the tush that gets pushed, and he is the 4th on my MVP power rankings.
Jalen Hurts will need to tush push his way to the end zone 30 times to even be in the conversation to be an MVP. I mean, this offense without Kellen Moore, I don't know why they're refusing to push the ball downfield with A.J. Brown. Like that's your go-to guy. That's your number 1. And the only way they were force-feeding him the ball on Sunday was just in those short areas of the field. Jalen Hurts. Hey, he could have reminded Chris Jones he did have 100 yards passing, 100 and what?
I think
14?
Yeah, I think that was 114, 124. I don't know. Jonah, am I crazy?
I don't think
I know
you're
T-Mac
crazy.
thinks I'm crazy, but do you think I'm crazy?
Why don't you think he's crazy?
Wins take on an outsized, I think, role when it comes to MVP voting in the NFL. I think they take on more importance than they do in a sport like baseball, And the Eagles are undefeated. Jalen Hurts has done a perfectly cromulent job of managing that offense. He hasn't dazzled in any way. But we're 2 games in. They're undefeated. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, which is, not all victories are created equal.
And the resume means something.
I actually tend to agree that
numbers mean something.
Super Bowl MVP. He's outdueled Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. Those type of things factor into these kind of decisions.
What do you guys want him to be comeback player of the year? This is the most valuable player in the National Football League.
Yeah, I would have had Jordan Love ahead of Jalen Hurts. I would have had him ahead of Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones, but here we are. Who do you have at 5? Who do you have at 5?
At 5, Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
Because I think people are failing to recognize 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3 years ago, that he was 3rd in MVP voting. Christian McCaffrey is pacing to be a potential 1,000-yard receiver at running back. He's the focal point of this offense, both in the run game and the pass game. We'll talk a little bit more about the Niners. They're not running it extremely well right now, but I mean, McCaffrey's going to, if he's healthy, is going to see just definitely a league-leading amount of touches. And if this team puts up a big record, goes 13-4, they go 12-5, he's going to be in the conversation. So when it comes to power rankings and top 5, I think McCaffrey's deserving of being in this list.
It's nice to see him playing at a high level again. He's not as dominant as he was a few years ago when he was a finalist for MVP, but he is 4th in the league in scrimmage yards, I think he's averaging like 5 yards per touch. It's really cool to see him, reestablishing himself as an impact player. It's an interesting pick. Who do you have at 5?
I have another running back at number 5. I got Jonathan Taylor. Nice. I think that this is a part of the Colts conversation that obviously is ongoing. I think he's been the most important part of their offense so far this year. He is just absolutely dynamic. If there's anybody that's going to have a Saquon Barkley type season this year, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. He has everything. He's got wiggle. He's got burst. When he puts his foot down and he runs in one direction, nobody's catching him. And if you do catch him, he's going to run over you. He's leading the league in rushing so far this year. Had a 200-yard game when you consider receiving. I think he had 54 receiving yards this past week. He's just been absolutely dominant and looks like the best player. I think he looks like maybe the best player in football so far this year.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any question that his effectiveness has made life easier for Daniel Jones and facilitated some of that success in the passing game. But
Shane Steichen is like, he's low-key, like,
he's been a huge Steichen
he's
stand
a demon.
for
Like,
a
he's
long
so
time.
good.
Guys,
he's so good.
I may have thought the Bears were going to be a good football team, but I still know a little bit of ball.
There you go.
Also, I have one honorable mention.
Perfect.
Can I do an honorable mention? Sure. Brandon Aubrey, the Dallas Cowboys
I love
kicker.
it. Was it 64 yards from Brandon Aubrey?
Yeah, I don't think there's a limit to how long.
No,
he
you
can
know
kick
what?
from.
I'm putting him as least valuable player because he forced us to watch more of that Giants Cowboys debacles. Like, let this end for the love of. If there's a God on this earth, this game will end swiftly. Okay, speaking of ending swiftly, that brings us to halftime on today's show. Zachy, you're running the halftime show. What do you got?
Well, we get a lot of different takes, We get first take, we get hot take, we have cold takes. I want fast takes.
Yeah.
I just want speedy takes. So T-Mac is genuinely, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, one of my favorite takesmen in the world.
Let's go.
I genuinely mean that.
He studied takeology at the University of Takes.
I love to hear. If it's a Monday, go to T-Mac's Instagram and you're going to hear some good takes on college football, on waiver wires. So we got a 2-minute drill. I think we got the clock up on the screen.
Hell yeah, I'll watch it.
I'm going to ask T-Mac questions. It could be one-word answers. It could be a short sentence, but I'm going to ask you as many questions as I can in this 2-minute drill. And
everyone knows I say few words when, what's the saying again? Why say few word when?
Why use more word when less word work?
Yeah,
Shout out Kevin from The Office. Yeah. Okay, you got 2 minutes on the clock. Zachy's running the 2-minute drill, and the timer starts now.
Okay, here we go. Your firstborn child can only be a fan of one of these two teams, the Bears or the Jets. Who do you choose?
Oh my God, no 4,000-yard passer. I'm gonna say the Bears because maybe he lives in Chicago and doesn't have to live in New York and never be able to afford a home.
Good call. Indiana Jones, good nickname or bad nickname?
Great nickname. Yeah,
that's a smash. Yes. Should Josh Allen have prevented trainers from blocking his nosebleed so we got some really cool pics of him looking like a warrior?
Sure,
yes. All right. Love that. Health be damned. Aaron Rodgers invites you to an all-expenses-paid inner soul journey to Peru. Do you go?
How old is he?
Right now.
Right
Aaron
now,
Rodgers.
no thanks.
No.
I'm good.
A young Aaron Rodgers, you might go.
Yeah, I would probably go.
What do we got? All right, here we go.
You got just over a minute.
I love this.
Doing great.
Considering injury risks, would you rather have Jordan Love or Matthew Stafford be your QB for the remainder of the season?
Easily Matthew Stafford. That's not even a conversation.
Really? Matthew Stafford?
For 1 year?
For just this year?
Just this year, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you said he's guaranteed healthy.
No, I'm saying
considering injury risk.
He could get injured.
I still think I would take Matthew Stafford. Yeah, I like Jordan Love. He's looked a lot better into the last 2 weeks, but I do still think I think Matthew Stafford's still playing a really
35 seconds.
Okay. Is Trevor Lawrence holding back the Jacksonville Jaguars? You like Liam Cohen?
Kind of. So far, yeah. I would say so.
All right.
20 seconds.
Could you and Jonah defeat Mike Vrabel in a tug of war?
Absolutely no chance.
Seconded.
Have you been to the gym this week? I haven't.
I haven't been to the gym since
There we go.
the
Yeah,
early
we're cooked.
2000s.
Yeah, we're cooked.
If you took away Lamar Jackson's rushing ability, is he still a top 5 QB in the NFL?
Oh,
5 seconds.
my.
5 seconds. Need an answer.
No.
Wow.
God.
Clock
He
rings.
leads the NFL in QB rating.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
For like the second year in a row. That's a wild take.
Lamar
That
Jackson.
was speedy and wild.
That was speedy and wild.
Everything defensively changes. Like your approach to defending Lamar Jackson changes.
Wow.
I think that was a wrong answer.
Yeah, it was.
It was
That
a
was
wrong
unequivocally a wrong answer.
That's what happens when you do fast takes. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Yeah.
you get caught up in the moment.
There you
the
go.
clock was ticking. He's no Baker
Everyone's a
Mayfield.
different man when facing a ticking clock.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I think that was Shakespeare. God. Anyways, gentlemen, we're into the second half. Okay, as we sit here today, there's a lot of teams that remain undefeated. But if I were to ask you, between the Bills and Eagles and Colts, which of these teams is not like the other two, you guys
What are you talking
You
about?
guys would probably have an easy time coming up with the answer, which begs the question, which of the currently 2-0 teams are the biggest frauds? Zach.
I am going to go with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
I believe that the Colts are frauds. The Indianapolis Colts, 2-0. Jonathan Taylor, NFL rushing leader. Daniel Jones, 5 TDs, 0 turnovers. They haven't punted in 2 weeks. Tyler Warren is looking like a revelation. And despite all that, they're frauds. The question isn't, have they been good? That's not the question. They have undoubtedly been good. The question is this sustainable? And I think the answer is no. Because in order for them, they almost lost this game this past week against the Broncos. It was a leveraged penalty that prevented them from losing the game. So what you're saying is, if you're expecting Daniel Jones to play at this level every single week, nobody's going to do that. He will win MVP if he continues to play the way that he is. I'm still seeing him sail balls over pass catchers.
You're not. That's a figment of your imagination.
No, it happens all the time. He's going over the top of guys. He's missing them. Jonathan Taylor also, we've talked about how good he is. He has barely played a full season for his entire career. So he's still a big injury risk. I just don't see any way this continues.
I do think that it was telling that Shane Steichen did not throw the ball a little bit more to get closer into field goal range and trust Daniel Jones. Maybe he doesn't have complete and total trust in him.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, which is reasonable.
That's reasonable.
The Colts, I don't think anyone thinks the Colts are a Super Bowl contender. That would be my argument. When it comes to frauds, I think this is a playoff team.
It's true. I didn't define frauds. You're free to interpret it as you wish.
And that's a little bit of like, that's where it's like, again, I wish I had Wilkie here, because it's like, I actually like the Colts and I think it's fun what they're doing. It's frauds in terms of like hyping them up to be Super Bowl contenders. I do also think they could be a playoff.
So mine.
I don't think
AFC
they can win a
South
playoff
sucks.
game. I don't think they can win a playoff game.
It depends who they would like. If they win the division, they're going to play. They might play a team that's a little fraudulent themselves.
They're very
Who
similar
knows?
to the Minnesota Vikings from last year, I think. Would you consider that team a fraud team?
No.
It's a very good comp. That
is a good comp,
coach. Though. Not everyone's favorite quarterback. I think it's a good comparison.
All right, let's move on, though.
Mine is going to be San Francisco, because I define fraud a little bit differently. Do I think that San Francisco is going to be a team that falls off the wagon from a 2-0 start? No, they've got one of the easiest schedules in the entire league. But I mentioned this when we talked about McCaffrey. This team is averaging less than 100 rushing yards a game through the first 2 weeks, and it was Seattle and New Orleans, like not cream of the crop talent that they're going up against. They're not moving teams in the run game like they have in years past. They rank 25th in stuff rate in the run game. That's right around 28%, I believe. So the run game is not as good as it's been in years past. Obviously, the injuries have been playing a factor for them, and they will get healthier. But even at full health, like I don't think we can expect Brandon Ayuk to be the player he was pre-injury. Actually, pre-injury, he was on a bit of a downturn.
I feel like we
as
haven't
it was.
seen him in like 2 years.
Yeah. So I think that there's some concern offensively. They're not the same unit, and then defensively, they don't have the Richard Sherman, the Charvarius Ward #1 type of corner that they can rely on to go up against the league's best. So I think this isn't the NFC champion type of 49ers teams we are used to seeing. Last year was an anomaly when it came to injuries and especially with Christian McCaffrey. So I think this team will be a postseason team. I just don't think anyone should expect that they're amongst the NFC's elite, let alone the league's elite.
It's fair. Zach, you got another fraud for us?
I had the Cardinals, but I don't think anybody is sitting here being like, the Cardinals are going to win the Super Bowl this year. They beat the Saints and the Panthers in 1-score games. that's not ideal. They basically let the Panthers almost get back into the game with some of those sort of BS.
Bryce Young. Fraudulent TDs.
Yeah. I don't really have that much. I think despite being 2-0, they're the worst team in their division. I think the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers are all better teams than them.
I think the Cardinals could be the second best team in that. I think we have a fraud bowl this week, Zach.
Yeah.
We have a Cardinals 49ers fraud bowl this week. We'll find out about both these teams.
Mac Jones season, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. If it's another
Mac Jones having one of the
game.
best games of his career. Just needed
three
out
tuds.
of New England, man. It's too toxic up there in Foxborough.
Kyle Shanahan's been frothing at the mouth for years.
Yeah, this was a tough exercise because of the fact, like, my fourth one is going to be, I don't think we have one.
No more frauds.
Yeah.
When we look at the Chargers, I think we all kind of know who they are. I mean, they might have the best
frauds.
defense in the NFL. Offensively, there's some, a few questions, and they're going to probably lose Khalil Mack for a little bit. I really hope he's going to be okay, but that did not look good. And then there's, the Bucs. They've got offensive line issues, but that's just solely based on health. I think if they're healthy, they'll be okay. And the offense, or defensively, I think they're still a strong unit. You've got, we know what the Bengals are. Like, nobody thinks that the future is bright with Jake Browning at QB.
Yeah.
What else? We got the Rams, the Eagles, the Packers. Like, there's not a lot of frauds left.
No, those are good teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's wrap this up. We got one more segment, and we're going to look ahead to this coming
We're in the
week's
fourth quarter now.
slate of games. We're in the fourth quarter.
Pressure's on.
Baker Mayfield time. What are some questions that you guys want to see answered in week 3? T, we'll go to you first.
I want to see what the Lions, like, how they stack up against the league's elite, because they've got Baltimore this week in prime time, and week 1 was obviously a bit of a disaster for that offensive line, but they bounced back in week 2 against Chicago. But again, we had the Chicago conversation. They might not be a legitimate defense to go up against. And defensively for them, Lamar Jackson has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL the last 3 seasons in terms of yards per attempt against man coverage. And the Lions like to run a lot of man coverage. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, Lamar Jackson's like 18 of 24 for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns against man coverage. How does this defense match up? Are they able to go man-to-man? Are they able to generate a pass rush against an improved offense in Baltimore? And then offensively, like, the Ravens have always been a team to take away the run and force teams to throw the football a fair bit. So how does Jared Goff look in a more in situations that are more obvious passing downs? I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Lions are more the team we saw in week 1 or more the team we saw in week 2.
It's kind of a great question because it's like perfectly juxtaposed.
Yeah.
Like, they played in week 1, maybe the best defense in the NFL. Week 2, maybe the worst defense in the NFL. So it's like, let's see where they regulate in the middle of those two things.
100%. Zachy, what do you want to see answered this week?
I want to see if the Rams will enter the Super Bowl conversation this week. It's going to be the Rams versus the Eagles. Obviously, last year in the NFC Championship, the Rams played a really strong game against the Eagles, I thought, and had a legitimate chance to win that game when it came down to the end. So this is just a massive game in the NFC, and it's kind of that same thing about the Lions where it's like, I think we'll really figure out a lot about where the Rams are headed this year. I'm personally a fan of them. I love Matthew Stafford. I think he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But that game's just that's a clear your schedule. That's a one TV household. You got to watch the Rams and the Eagles.
Yeah, the next month is going to be really revelatory for them because they play Baltimore this week. They play Philly this week, and then they play Baltimore on October 12th. Those are two, show us what you're made of type games. So, by Thanksgiving, I think we'll have a clearer sense, certainly, of whether the Rams are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. T, you got another question you want to see answered?
Yeah, through the first 2 weeks, I'm really concerned about Washington. I want to know if this team is better than their 2024 version because I have some serious doubts. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore was being picked on quite a bit last week against the Packers.
He
gave up 5 receptions for like 80 yards. They also were playing, this is like way too, football guy in the weeds thing, but like Mike Sanders still is playing a lot of slot corner when he's traditionally was playing a lot more safety. Like, he's almost played half of his snaps in the slot of what he did all of last season through 2 games. I don't really like that fit for him because he was also picked on quite a bit in that game too.
Can we get the guys in the booth? Make sure you clip the Mike Sanders still. We're going to need that for socials.
Nobody cares about that on social. But, so defensively, I'm really concerned. Like, the pass rush, like, we really went into the year with Von Miller and Dietrich Wise as our guys, primary rushers off the edge after we said goodbye to Jonathan Allen. I think this defense really stinks. And I love Dan Quinn, but I don't think his scheme can make up for the lack of talent on defense. And then Josh Connerly has been on skates the first 2 weeks. Like, it was really, really bad against the Packers on Thursday night. He gave up 9 pressures alone. The entire right side of their offensive line gave up 15. They get the Raiders this week. It's a much easier opponent. Like, let's get Jaden back into the quick passing game where we're creating yards after the catch and then opening things up with the deep ball, because the deep ball is nowhere to be found, and Jaden's been hanging on to the ball quite a bit too, and did not use his legs at all against Green Bay either. So much easier opponent here. Let's get the offense back on track, and Dan Quinn, let's prove to me that this defense isn't as bad as I'm thinking it might be.
Yeah,
we just talked about it. The Lions had the massive bounce back game after they played the Packers as well. So could be similar thing there. Terry McLaurin, obviously still, I think, getting acclimated, getting his legs under him a little bit. So week 3, I think, would be about a good time for him to start cooking again.
Look, that's a really tough matchup, right? That's arguably the top team in the NFC, maybe the top team in football. What is even the status of Jaden Daniels right now? Like, is he going to play as far as we know?
As far as I've seen, I think the expectation is he's going to play. It was a knee sprain, right?
I think it was ankle.
Ankle sprain? Yeah. I believe from what I've read, it looks like he's going to play. I know there's the Marcus Mariota conversation too, but I think more importantly is the defense, because like you said, the Packers are like the best defense in the NFC right now. It looks like the Giants have that fantastic pass rush. So I'm more concerned about the defense for sure.
Okay. I just looked up, and those fake Twitter doctors are saying he's playing. So
good.
Those guys with no information whatsoever.
Speaking of frauds, Dr. Quackington. Okay, Zach, one more question that you want to see answered in week 3.
This one I just wanted to. We haven't really talked about the Packers today. I want to know, are the Browns going to score a single point against the Packers? Because this might be just 54-0, and a Joe Flacco prayer is literally the only prayer that they have. This will be one of the biggest beatdowns in NFL history we're about to see. With the way that the Packers are playing, they absolutely demolished the Lions, who scored 50 points the week after. They made Jaden Daniels look like he had no idea how to play football anymore. They've got pass rushers coming out the wazoo. They've got Edrin Cooper, one of the best players in the league. Their secondary, Keyshawn Nixon. If you focus in on Keyshawn Nixon playing corner, he looked like prime Darrelle Revis last week. It is absolutely insane. This is going to be a beat down.
Yeah. I mean, Myles Garrett said after their loss to Baltimore, he's like, this is embarrassing. Dude, I don't think it's going to get any better playing the Pack, who lead the NFC in point differential and look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
And the Browns' offensive line is old and washed, too.
Yeah.
And I think that this will probably be it for Flacco. After this game, I would think we'll see Dylan Gabriel, because there's not really a lot of scenarios where this goes well for them offensively. I could see the Browns' defense keeping them in the game, because I still have a lot of respect for their defense. But offensively, I don't see much reason for success. I was interested in the fact that Quinshon Judkins' first game available, and they were like, yep, you're our guy, you're our guy, you're our guy. Fed him a lot of touches and carries and opportunities. So I am going to be interested to see what he looks like in the second week.
And I'm interested to see the Bengals pick up Joe Flacco in week 4. He steers them to like a 10-7 record and a first-round playoff loss.
Well,
but
Jonah, I did see, maybe this was wrong, but I did see this on Twitter. Jake Browning does have more game-winning drives in his career than Joe Burrow does. So put some respect on Jake Browning's name.
Wow. Unbelievable. We'll see if he can keep that going this coming Sunday. I don't know. But that'll do it for us today here at No Timeouts. Once again, that's Zak McDonald. That's Tyler MacKillop. My name is Jonah Birenbaum. We'll see you next time.